The healing power of art is a creative process, and without creativity, things don't move or change. Healing has a lot to do about never being rigid and always being open, and art provides that opportunity. I know growing up, art was a refuge for me. I think it's so important to find those places, and I think the more you can cue into your own world and find a resource for yourself, the more comforting that can be. If you had to say, oh, what do you do? I would probably say I'm a landscape artist, but I don't use traditional materials. I don't visually paint. I'm interested in the process of landscape as something that is always changing. So weather enters into my work. Engineered environments enter into my work. So I'm looking at how the world is shaped by humans and what sort of agency we have over the world. Not only that, I was fascinated with this idea of decline. What does decline mean? What does it look like? And not necessarily that's not a negative in my mind. I like to make work that has a life and then it decomposes. So I'm interested in impermanence as a concept. The piece is titled Sway, S-W-A-Y. There's 5 very colorful panels, and they're stacked vertically but not in alignment. The photograph, I was fortunate to have a week on Lake Huron. I took my dog, I spent a week by myself, never bored. Watching the water change color throughout the day was just mesmerizing. The second component are the series of woodblock panels. I print on a handmade Japanese paper. I mix ink, roll it over a piece of birch plywood where I've opened up the grain a little bit by sandblasting it so that I have parts of the wood that are a little more raised than the others. And I layer 2 or 3 printings on top of one another so you get this really rich, vibrant color. The placement has to do with how water moves. In some of the panels, like the first one right up above, the photograph is gray, and there are these little vertical grain patterns. The second one is blue, and there's also a green pattern. The next one is this intense green, and I think of the color of plants underwater. And then there's a red, and that's more chemical color. I was talking about lights. And then the orange one at the top is definitely about sun. Color is the primary purpose of this piece, color and movement. And it's almost like taking a vertical inventory of color in the landscape and then movement. So I wanted one element that talked about the ground and even below the ground, and that's realistic. That's a photo of water, and the subtle patterns of the water are very inspirational to then the upper panels, which have subtle movement of wood grain, so they echo that movement as they go up the wall. I hope that, first of all, it will catch their eye. It will give them a moment of forgetting where they are. I thought a lot about being in a hospital, and my husband passed away from pancreatic cancer. He was treated at Henry Ford. So my knowledge of that process is deep. I actually thought a lot about when I was in the hospital and taking him to infusions. You know, what transported me for a moment? Often it was looking out the window. I can't make work if it doesn't come from some experience that I know. I can't pretend. So I was able to draw on my time spent in a hospital. The significance is huge, and I didn't realize how significant it was until I went to install the piece. And I was driving down the lodge, and I got incredibly emotional. I just started gently crying in the car, and I realized that when I took my husband Dave I'd get off at Pallister. And here now I did this piece for the Cancer Center, and I got a tour and learned all about all the thought that has gone into how they are making it so much more friendly for the patient, for the family members. And I just got so happy and moved by that. It keeps the hospital environment from being sterile and sanitized. It takes into account that people are all unique individuals and they are going to experience the art there differently. Whereas if you didn't have art and it was just antiseptic, that's a standard. It kind of groups everybody together, and this is how we're going to treat this. So hopefully the art opens that world up. So I'm happy and honored to be a part of a new center that is taking a more holistic approach to medicine and treatment and incorporating the art. They've provided space and a budget to realize its importance, and I'm just so thrilled to be part of that.